Amira Tan never imagined that a single like on a photo of a snowy Canadian forest would change her life forever. At 32, she worked as an English teacher at a private school in Johor, Malaysia. After two painful relationships that drained her emotionally and financially, she had stopped believing in love altogether. Her life had become a comfortable routine. Work, home, weekend grocery runs, and the occasional coffee outing with her best friend, Clara Yeo, a graphic designer who had lived in Toronto before moving back to Malaysia. Ironically, it was Clara who convinced her to download an international dating app. "You need to meet someone outside this small circle, Amira," Clara teased as she helped her set up the profile. "Canadian men are respectful and loyal. You might be surprised." Amira laughed, half skeptical but curious. She uploaded a few smiling photos, wrote about her love for reading, hiking, and yoga, and closed the app without much expectation. Within 2 weeks, her inbox filled with messages, but most were disappointing. Quick flings, shallow compliments, or men who seemed to be hiding something. Then one evening, a profile caught her attention. Daniel Miller, 38, a civil engineer from Vancouver, Canada. His first message wasn't the usual small talk. He commented on her favorite book. "If you enjoy Haruki Murakami," he wrote, "you might love Alice Munro, one of my country's finest writers. I could send you one of her collections if you'd like." Amira smiled. That was new. She clicked his profile, tall, slightly graying hair, a friendly face, and pictures of him hiking in the mountains with his golden retriever, Baxter. There was something calm and genuine in his eyes. "He seems too good to be true," Amira told Clara over lunch, showing her the photos. Clara studied them. "He's Canadian, has a stable job, and looks normal. Just take things slowly and see how it goes." Their chats grew frequent and intense. Daniel remembered every little thing she mentioned, her favorite tea, her stressful school meetings, even her dream of seeing snow for the first time. When she mentioned being tired after a long day, he sent her a voice note, calm, deep, comforting. "You deserve peace, Amira. You're doing great." He sent videos of himself hiking near Whistler and promised, "One day, I'll take you there myself." After 3 weeks, they had their first video call. Amira nervously changed clothes 3 times before choosing a light blue blouse. When the call connected and Daniel's face appeared, she froze for a moment. He was even more handsome than his photos. Their conversation flowed easily, laughter, teasing, stories. "You're exactly how I imagined," he said softly near the end. "Even more beautiful in real life." From then on, they talked every day, texts in the morning, video calls at night, despite the 15-hour time difference. Daniel often spoke about the future, about their life together. He confessed one night, his voice low and steady, "I've been alone for too long. With you, it finally feels different." Amira melted at his words. For the first time in years, she felt seen. But small red flags began to appear. When she mentioned going to a co-worker's birthday dinner, Daniel's tone changed. "Are there men going too?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Of course," Amira replied, half laughing. "It's a work event." I know, he sighed. "It's just hard being so far away and picturing you there. I guess I'm a little jealous." Amira brushed it off. It felt flattering, someone who cared so much. But Clara wasn't convinced. "Why do all his video calls look like they're from the same room?" she asked one day. "No office, no outdoor background, nothing." "He works from home," Amira reasoned. "He's a civil engineer. Most of his work is digital now." Clara frowned but stayed quiet. The biggest red flag appeared 2 months later, when Amira suggested visiting him during her July holidays. Daniel froze for a few seconds before replying, "That might be complicated right now." It would have been a dream come true, but Daniel told Amira that July wasn't the right time. He explained that a major project at work would demand all his energy and that it wouldn't be fair to have her visit when he couldn't give her the attention she deserved. His tone was gentle, reassuring, and full of promise. "How about September instead?" he suggested. The autumn colors in the mountains are breathtaking. I'll be done with work by then, and I could take you around Vancouver, Whistler, even Victoria. It'll be perfect. Amira hesitated. September meant taking time off from her teaching job in Kuala Lumpur, most likely unpaid. She voiced her concern, but Daniel's response was calm and persuasive. If we're serious about building something real, Amira, one of us has to take a step. I'm not asking for much, just a few days to see if what we feel across the distance is as strong when we're together. He had a point, and Amira couldn't deny that her heart already felt tied to his. After a brief pause, she smiled softly. Okay, September it is. Daniel's face lit up on the screen. You won't regret it, Amira. I promise. 3 weeks before the trip, Daniel called unexpectedly. His voice trembled slightly, and he looked nervous, almost anxious. Amira, I need to tell you something, he began, his blue eyes searching hers through the screen. Her heart skipped a beat. Was he breaking things off? But then he took a deep breath. I love you. I know it's soon, and I know we haven't met in person yet, but I can't hide it anymore. You mean everything to me. Amira blinked, speechless. Before she could reply, Daniel reached for something off camera and returned holding a small blue box. Amira Tan, he said with quiet conviction, I know this is sudden and maybe a little crazy, but when you know, you know. Will you marry me? Her heart raced. Marriage? Already? But Daniel was steady, kind, and sure of himself. Everything she thought she'd been missing in her past relationships. Daniel, this is so fast, she whispered. He smiled gently. I know. You don't have to decide now. When you come in September, bring your answer. I just wanted you to know where my heart stands. That night, Amira barely slept. When she told her best friend, Liana, the next day, the reaction wasn't what she expected. Liana frowned deeply. A proposal before meeting in person? Amira, that's not romantic, it's risky. Amira tried to reassure her, explaining how Daniel was a successful engineer with a house in Vancouver, how he didn't need anything from her. Money, papers, nothing. Liana sighed. Just promise me you'll be careful. Message me every day when you're there. If anything feels off, don't think twice, come home. September came quickly. Amira used her savings to buy her ticket, politely refusing Daniel's offer to cover the cost. She told her principal she needed 10 days off for a family matter. Only Liana knew the real reason for her trip. At Kuala Lumpur International Airport, as she waited to board, Amira's phone buzzed. I can't wait to see you in person, my love. Everything's ready. It'll be perfect, Daniel had written. She smiled but couldn't shake a faint sense of unease, part excitement, part something else she couldn't quite name. During the long flight, she chatted with a kind Canadian woman seated beside her. When Amira mentioned she was flying to Vancouver to meet her fiancé, the woman smiled warmly but added, Vancouver's a beautiful city, but like any place, be careful who you trust, dear. Amira thanked her politely but brushed off the comment. Daniel wasn't like that. He was different. He had to be. After a long journey and a connection through Toronto, Amira finally landed in Vancouver. Her heart pounded as she walked through the airport, searching the crowd. And then she saw him. Daniel was real, tall, broad-shouldered, holding a bouquet of yellow tulips, her favorite. His voice sounded deeper in person, his smile just as warm. Amira, he said softly, pulling her into a hug. You came. Of course, she whispered. I love you. I love you too, he replied. Now come. I have so much to show you. He carried her suitcase to a sleek black SUV, opening the door with gentlemanly charm. The drive through the city felt like a dream. Towering buildings, the glittering harbor, and snow-tipped mountains in the distance. We can stop by your hotel first, Daniel said, or if you're not too tired, maybe a little sightseeing? Let's go to the hotel, Amira replied with a tired laugh. I'm running on fumes. But when they reached the area near the hotel, Daniel didn't slow down. He kept driving. Daniel, she said, glancing at him, wasn't that the turn? Change of plans, he replied lightly. I canceled your hotel. It's silly for you to spend money on a room when I have a whole house to myself. You'll stay with me." Amira froze. "I thought we agreed." "Come on, Amira," Daniel interrupted smoothly, flashing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "We're engaged. Or at least, we will be after this trip. You don't need to be shy with me." She forced a small laugh, but the unease returned stronger this time. She quickly texted Liana, "Landed safe. Staying at his place instead of hotel. We'll send address soon." Daniel noticed her phone. "Who are you texting?" "My friend. Just letting her know I'm here." He chuckled, but there was something cold behind the laugh. "Are you planning to spend the whole trip on your phone? Or with me?" They drove on, leaving the city lights behind. The highway narrowed into winding roads surrounded by dense forest. "How much longer?" Amira asked, trying to sound casual. "About 40 minutes, Daniel replied calmly. "It's peaceful up there. No noise, no neighbors, just us." The word peaceful echoed in her mind as the trees grew thicker, shadows swallowing the fading daylight. For the first time since she had met him online, Amira Tam began to wonder if she had made a terrible mistake. "I know we're still getting to know each other," Daniel said softly, his tone gentle yet confident. "There's no rush. I've set up the guest room for you. When you're comfortable, my door's always open." Amira exhaled, feeling a wave of relief, and a flicker of guilt for ever doubting him. He was being considerate, not pushy. The guest room was beautiful, spacious, with a king-size bed, a private bathroom, and a wide window overlooking the misty mountains. But when she tried to open the window for some fresh air, it wouldn't budge. "Daniel," she called, "the window's locked." He appeared in the doorway, smiling easily. "Oh, right. Safety locks. We get bears around here sometimes. One tried to break in once. It's just a precaution." "Bears," she repeated, nodding. Of course. It made sense in the Canadian wilderness. The first morning, Amira woke before dawn, her body still adjusting to the time zone. She checked her phone. No signal. She slipped downstairs and found Daniel already in the kitchen, the smell of coffee filling the air. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he teased. "Coffee, please," she said, smiling faintly. "But Daniel, I can't get any service on my phone." He handed her a mug. "Yeah, that's normal here. The Malaysian carrier won't work this far out. Don't worry, you can use the Wi-Fi. The password's on the fridge." Amira connected, and instantly her messages flooded in. Her friend Liana had sent several. "Amira, where's the address? Please reply, I'm worried." Amira quickly typed back. "No signal here, but I'm fine. The house is beautiful, just really isolated. Daniel's being perfect. I'll send you my location soon." But when she tried, the GPS froze. The signal blinked out. She muttered. "Something wrong with the connection?" Daniel's voice came from behind her so suddenly that she almost dropped her phone. "God, you scared me," she said, forcing a laugh. "Yeah, it's just a bit slow." He smiled. "The internet's not great up here. Mountain life, limited infrastructure. But it works fine for the basics." The first 2 days passed pleasantly, at least on the surface. Daniel cooked gourmet dinners, told funny stories about growing up in Alberta, and showed her around his vast property. But Amira started noticing little things. He always seemed to appear whenever she was messaging someone. If she picked up her phone, he'd be there within seconds, asking, "Who are you texting?" or "Everything okay?" When she suggested a trip into downtown Vancouver, Daniel frowned. "Not today. Traffic's a nightmare. Maybe tomorrow. You should rest." By the third night, his mood had shifted. Over dinner, he poured champagne into 2 glasses. "A toast," he said warmly. "To us, and to the life we're about to build together." Amira raised her glass, but noticed he didn't take a sip. "Aren't you drinking?" she asked. "I wish I could," he replied, touching his throat. "Started antibiotics this morning. Infection, but you enjoy it." She took a small sip. The champagne tasted slightly bitter, but she assumed it was just a strong brand. Then his tone changed. "Amira," he said, looking at her intently, Have you thought about my proposal? About marriage? Her heart skipped. Daniel, I, I'm still getting to know you in person. It's only been 3 days. For a moment, his expression darkened, but he quickly smiled again. You're right. I'm sorry for rushing things. I'm just happy you're here. Amira suddenly felt lightheaded, her vision blurring slightly. I think the jet lag's hitting me again. I should go lie down. Of course, Daniel said softly. Get some rest. I have a surprise for you tomorrow. That night, her sleep was unnaturally heavy. When she finally woke, sunlight was streaming through the curtains. It was nearly 11 a.m. Her head throbbed. On her phone, a message blinked from Daniel. Breakfast ready in the kitchen. I'm in the office. Come down when you wake up. Need to talk to you. Amira stumbled downstairs. Daniel was sitting at the table with his laptop open, papers spread out around him. He looked up and smiled. Good afternoon. Sleep well? I slept too much, she murmured. That's not normal for me. He chuckled. It's the mountain air. It relaxes you. Sit down. I want to show you something. He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen were breathtaking photos, snow-covered peaks, turquoise lakes, winding trails through endless pine forests. Remember what I promised? He said softly. To show you the real mountains? I've planned a special trail for us tomorrow. Something in his voice made her shiver. Not from fear exactly, but from the uneasy certainty that this was only the beginning of something far more dangerous than she could imagine. 2 days and 1 night camping, Daniel said, his tone almost cheerful. We're leaving tomorrow. You'll love it. Amira felt a sudden tightness in her chest. Daniel, I've never been camping before, she admitted nervously. I don't even have the right gear. He chuckled, brushing off her concern. Don't worry about that. I got everything, tent, sleeping bags, food. It's a private trail a friend from the park arranged for me. Completely isolated. Just the two of us, surrounded by nature. The words completely isolated echoed in her mind like a warning siren. Her instincts screamed at her to slow down. Let me just tell Liana where we're going first, she said cautiously. Daniel's expression hardened. Amira, he said slowly, his voice turning cold. Did you come here to stare at your phone or to be with me? She hesitated. I just want her to know where I'll be. You'll be with me, he interrupted sharply. Then, after a pause, he sighed, forcing a smile. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound harsh. I just want this trip to be special. No distractions. Just us. Amira looked down, feeling a confusing mix of fear and guilt. Maybe he was just being sensitive. All right, she said softly. Let's go. His smile returned instantly. Perfect. We'll leave at sunrise. I promise. It'll be unforgettable. That night, Amira tried to message Liana again, but the Wi-Fi connection flickered and died. By the time it came back, she was too exhausted to type. Lying in bed, she stared up at the ceiling, listening to the heavy silence that surrounded the cabin. Somewhere outside, an animal howled. For the first time, she truly wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. At 5:30 a.m., Daniel woke her with quiet urgency. Time to go, he said. The earlier we start, the better the view. Still half asleep, Amira dressed and followed him downstairs. He had already packed everything. Massive backpacks, camping gear, a cooler filled with food. It looked like supplies for a week, not 2 days. Is all this really necessary? She asked. Safety, Daniel replied with a grin. You never know what can happen in the mountains. Always better to be over-prepared. As they drove, Amira tried to memorize the turns. Left at the old sign, right past the bridge, but everything blurred together into endless stretches of forest. After about 40 minutes, Daniel stopped the car in a small, deserted clearing. There were no other vehicles, no rangers, no signs of life. Where's your friend? The one who gave you access? She asked. He came yesterday to unlock the gate, Daniel said quickly. We're good to go. It didn't sound right. Still, she followed him. Amira checked her phone. No signal, as expected. Daniel, what if something happens? How will we call for help? He pointed to a small device clipped to his backpack. Satellite GPS emergency signal built in. Relax, I've got us covered. But he didn't hand it to her. The trail started beautifully. Fresh pine air, birds singing, the crunch of gravel beneath their boots. For a moment, Amira almost forgot her anxiety. Daniel was talkative, pointing out wildflowers and telling childhood stories. But after 2 hours, his mood shifted. His voice quieted, his steps quickened, and he became strangely focused. Daniel, can you slow down? I'm not used to this, she called out. We need to reach camp before dark, he replied without looking back. Come on. It wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. Another hour passed. Amira's legs burned. She tripped over a root and fell hard to her knees. Daniel, wait, she gasped. He stopped, turned, and walked back slowly. But there was no concern in his eyes, only irritation. We don't have time for this, he said through clenched teeth. Get up. I just need a minute, she said weakly. You'll rest when we get there, he snapped, grabbing her arm and pulling her up roughly. His grip was strong enough to leave a bruise. Amira's pulse spiked. For the first time, she felt genuine fear. When they finally reached the camp, her stomach dropped. It wasn't a campsite at all, just a small clearing surrounded by thick forest. No signs, no other people, no trail markers. I'll set up the tent, Daniel said curtly. You can rest. Amira sat on a rock, unlacing her shoes. Her feet ached, and her heart pounded. She reached for her phone again. Still no signal. Stop looking at that thing, Daniel said sharply without turning around. She froze. Excuse me. Your phone, he said, his voice low but dangerous. Put it away. It's useless here. Daniel, what's wrong with you? Why are you talking to me like this? He slowly turned toward her, eyes cold and distant. You know what your problem is, Amira, he said quietly. You don't understand when you've stepped into something you can't control. Her blood ran cold. Daniel took a slow step closer. You came all the way to my country, he whispered. Now you play by my rules. Amira's heart pounded as Daniel's expression turned dark. You're in my world now, he said quietly, his tone ice cold. No one knows where you are. Not your friend Layla. Not anyone. Look at your phone, he added, gesturing toward her trembling hand. The screen read no signal. No GPS, no calls, no way out. You're completely alone, Amira. She took a shaky step back. Daniel, you're scaring me. He smirked. Good. Maybe that's what it'll take for you to finally listen. When she tried to move again, he shoved her back against a rock. Sit down. Let's have a little talk. His voice was calm now, disturbingly so. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice breaking. What do I want? He echoed, laughing bitterly. Months, Amira. I spent months setting this up, saying all the right things online, pretending to be the perfect man. And you believed it, like the others did before you. Amira's stomach twisted. Others. Daniel crouched down, so their faces were inches apart. You're the fifth. And do you know what happened to the other four? She didn't answer. She couldn't. They never came back. The horror in her eyes seemed to amuse him. Now, he said casually, you're going to give me your passwords, phone, email, bank accounts. Then you'll record a few videos saying you're happy here in Canada, that you've decided to stay, that no one should look for you. Her voice trembled. No one will believe that. They will, he replied confidently. Everyone always does. When the police see videos of you smiling, saying you chose this life, the case is closed. Adults can disappear if they want to. Amira's pulse raced. What about the others? Didn't anyone notice they were missing? Oh, people noticed, he said almost proudly. But all they found were the videos I made. Happy smiles, fake love stories, fake receipts, fake hotel bookings. It all looked so real. He leaned in closer. No one ever finds the bodies. The wilderness takes care of that part. That night, Daniel forced Amira to record 3 separate videos, each one more degrading than the last. He held a knife just out of frame as she smiled and lied through her teeth, saying she was thrilled to start a new life in Canada. When it was over, he chained her to a tree. "Do you do this often?" she asked quietly, watching his precise movements. "I used to be a cop," Daniel replied flatly. 10 years with the Vancouver police. I know exactly how investigations work and how to make sure they never touch me. Amira tried to keep him talking. "Why are you doing this?" Daniel stared into the fire for a long moment before speaking. "My ex-wife destroyed my life. Took everything, my money, my daughter, my home. And the court believed her lies. Women always win. So you kill innocent women because of her?" "It's not killing," he said coldly. "It's justice. You women come here for an easy life, for citizenship, for comfort. I'm just balancing the scales." That night, the temperature dropped sharply. Amira shivered violently under a thin blanket, her wrists bleeding from the cuffs. Around 3 a.m., she heard heavy footsteps. Not Daniel's, something else. A bear emerged from the trees, drawn by the smell of food. It sniffed near the tent where Daniel slept. Amira made a split-second decision. "Bear! Daniel! There's a bear!" she screamed. Daniel bolted from the tent in panic. The bear, startled, roared and charged. As Daniel fought it off, something metallic flew from his pocket, the handcuff key. It landed just out of Amira's reach. Her fingers stretched desperately, scraping against the dirt. The bear clawed at Daniel, who swung wildly with his knife, managing to wound it enough for it to flee. Bleeding heavily, Daniel collapsed. Amira's fingers finally brushed the key. She unlocked the cuffs, her heart hammering. Without looking back, she ran, barefoot, terrified, into the dark forest. "Amira!" Daniel shouted after her. "You'll die out there. There are bears, no food, no water." But she didn't stop. Nothing in those woods could be worse than him. Branches tore her skin as she stumbled through the trees, trying to stay quiet. Behind her, Daniel's voice echoed, mocking calm, controlled. "Be reasonable. Come back. We can work this out." She crouched behind a fallen tree, barely breathing, her mind racing. Daniel was a trained ex-cop, a hunter, but she wasn't going to be his fifth victim. Not tonight. Amira's mind raced. She remembered something she once read about predators. They follow tracks. She had to mislead him. Quickly, she took off one of her sneakers and hurled it into the bushes to her left. The sound drew Daniel's attention immediately. "I found you," he shouted, charging in the wrong direction. While he ran toward the noise, Amira moved silently in the opposite direction, barefoot, careful to leave no clear trail behind her. The night crawled by painfully slow. As the first light of dawn began to seep through the trees, Amira had been walking for hours. Her feet were raw and bleeding, her throat dry, her stomach empty. Every breath felt like fire in her chest. Then she heard something, faint at first, but real. Running water. A river. She stumbled toward the sound until she reached the edge of a rushing stream. The water sparkled in the morning light. She fell to her knees, drinking greedily before forcing herself to stop. She couldn't afford to get sick. As she washed the blood from her torn feet, her eyes caught something across the river. A small cabin, old but clearly man-made. Hope surged through her for the first time in hours. Upstream, about 50 meters away, a narrow wooden bridge crossed the water. She had no time to hesitate. Daniel could appear at any moment. Her feet screamed with pain as she staggered across the bridge, each plank groaning beneath her weight. When she reached the cabin, she shoved open the door. It was unlocked. Inside was a single dusty room, a rusted stove, a small table, a few cans of food, and hanging on the wall, an emergency radio. Her hands trembled as she turned the dial. Static. She twisted the knob again, voice shaking. "Hello. Can anyone hear me? I need help. Please, someone help me." Before she could say more, the door slammed open. Daniel stood there, bloodied, bruised, and grinning. His eyes burned with amusement. "You followed the river," he said softly. "Exactly what I would have done. You're smarter than most, Amira, but not smart enough. Amira froze, heart pounding. There was nowhere to run. He stepped closer, knife glinting faintly in the light. "It's over," he whispered. Then, a crackle from the radio. "This is Forest Ranger Morrison responding to an emergency signal. Identify your location." "Over." Daniel's eyes widened in shock. Amira grabbed the microphone and screamed, "Cabin by the river. A man is trying to kill me. His name is Daniel Miller, former Vancouver police officer." Daniel lunged, but Amira snatched up the only weapon near her, a heavy iron pot, and swung it with everything she had. It hit him square in the head. He stumbled, dazed, blood dripping down his temple. Amira bolted out the door as the ranger's voice came through again. "Signal received. Rescue team en route. Hold on, help is coming." She ran along the riverbank, tears blurring her vision, until she heard it, the rhythmic thrum of helicopter blades. A rescue chopper appeared above the trees. She waved frantically, screaming for help. Moments later, 2 rangers and a pair of police officers landed nearby. Amira collapsed into their arms, sobbing. "He tried to kill me. There are other women. You're safe now," one ranger assured her. "Where is the attacker?" "In the cabin. Daniel Miller. He's ex-police." The officers exchanged grim looks and radioed for backup. Hours later, Daniel, real name Marcus Brennan, was found unconscious, bleeding, and barely alive. He was taken into custody. The investigation that followed uncovered horrors. The rented house he had claimed as his own belonged to Sarah Chun, a woman who had vanished 3 years earlier. In the basement, police found passports, jewelry, and personal belongings of 5 missing women, Amira's among them. 3 sets of remains were eventually recovered from the forest. 2 women were never found. At trial, Marcus pleaded insanity, claiming trauma and mental instability. Amira testified in front of silent courtroom, reliving every moment of her ordeal. Families of the victims filled the seats, weeping quietly. Sarah's mother approached Amira after the verdict, whispering through tears, "You brought my daughter back to us. Thank you." Marcus Brennan was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Still, 2 families never received closure. 2 victims lost forever in the wilderness. 3 weeks later, Amira returned to Malaysia. Her best friend Layla hugged her tightly at the airport. "You were right about everything," Amira whispered, her voice breaking. Recovery was slow. Therapy, nightmares, panic, but day by day, she began to rebuild her life. 6 months later, she spoke in a documentary about abusive relationships and survival. Her message was clear and powerful. Isolation disguised as love. Control hidden behind care. The pressure to decide too quickly. If your instincts tell you something is wrong, trust them. They're trying to save your life.